Good afternoon and thank you so much for joining us on The State. Today is Wednesday and God bless you for joining us. But today on The State we'll be discussing some very interesting topics, and that has to do with our salaries not changing, yet we find ourselves in the same dispensation. The issues of price hikes are also one of the factors. Then there is fuel price increment, and then there are many other things that are actually being a factor for our salaries not being able to go through any of our salaries the way we want to have our monies. But this is what we'll be discussing on The States. Thank you so much for joining us. This program is proudly brought to you by the Christian Service University located in Kumasi. If you're looking forward to doing courses in nursing, midwifery, education, theology, you're looking forward to having communications as well, then Christian Service University is there to offer you just that. Admissions for the 2024-2025 academic year is still ongoing, so pick a form, submit it, or go onto their website cscu.edu.gh and you can find the forms there. If you fill it and you qualify, you will be admitted into the school. My name is Miss Now. We'll take a quick turn. We'll return with W Brief. Do stay with us.
The Christian Service University, a fully chartered private university in Ghana, is inviting applications for admission. Undergraduate programs include BSc Nursing and Midwifery, Computer Science, Information Technology, Bachelor of Business Administration, BA Communication Studies, Planning and Social Development, and Theology with Administration. Postgraduate programs include MSc in Accounting and Finance, Monitoring and Evaluation, Corporate Planning and Governance. We have MA MPhil Communication Studies, MA Christian Ministry with Management, Event Management, MPhil English and Mathematics Education. With quality, faculty and state-of-the-art facilities, we blend academic work with entrepreneurial mindset in all our programs. For more information, please call 0246-275375, 0240-154825, or 0244-596603, or visit our website www.csuc.edu.gh. CSU is located at Odenaho Kwadaso on the Kumasi-Obuasi Road, 100 meters off Star Junction. Choose CSU today to secure the future of Africa.
And to make him better known.
Ago, Ghana for Mama don't you? May the dead Janava. Dead spices are running in every Jackson. And you never know yet.
If we come your job, we no use dead spices. We no go job. If I don't
Taste the inside. Yeah, the natural spices, Papa na
noodles everywhere you go, dead spices.
Just the one.
No more dead spices. Aji baby,
Black, tasting a chicken.
Kaji, go. But dead spices here, what Jenny say, nanya good taste. If we say, yeah, the natural spices and yeah, you're gonna hey yo. Annie, you want all purpose, stew, noodles, curry and nutmeg, and a jollof. Dead spices, taste yummy, taste lemon. Dead spices, taste day inside. FDIG, a jedi in Kratuya.
Hello and welcome back. Thank you for joining us on W Brief. But today our topic here is simple. It has to do with our everyday life. But some weeks ago, the PURC announced that there will be some increments when it comes to utilities. And with utilities, the adjustment has gone upward by 5.84% on all other residential consumers. For lifeline consumers, we have about 3.45%. For industrial category, it's going for about 4.92%. Now, when it comes to fuel prices, petrol is up by 2.0% from July 1. Diesel is up by 4.0%. LPG, that is the gas we use all the time, is about 5% high. Now, in the second pricing window, petrol closed at $816.61 per metric ton, and then the diesel also went to about $778.32 per metric ton. And then when it comes to LPG, it went as far up as $477.86 per metric ton, and then the increase is about 91.45 increase in petrol, 6.84% for diesel, and 9.06% for LPG. And these are some of the things that have been going on for quite some time. The city is also not performing very well, because when you take $1 and you just go to the Forex Bureau, you would get about 15 cedis, and some few coins about 35 or 34 pesos per $1. And these are some of the issues that people have raised concerning their businesses. The fact that they have to use a lot of dollars to buy some of the raw materials and come and produce in this part of the world. Now, in the wake of all these, salaries have still not gone up. Then again, today, earlier in the day, we're discussing the issues of clocks are going on a strike starting today, because they are saying that their conditions of service has still not improved, despite the fact that government has signed a memorandum of understanding with them, indicating that some upward adjustments will be given to their salaries. But it's been 1 year and some few months, and they are still taking home the same amount they used to take home before the signing of the memorandum. So as we speak, most of their offices are closed. They have laid down their tools. This also goes to many other sector workers, both public and private. We go to the teachers union, you realize that they've also been on strike for a while. That's CITAG. You go to other places, they are also striking. But how do we navigate the rest of the year with these salaries that we are taking home today? We'll sit back, we'll discuss all these things, and then we'll look at the way forward. That's the solutions we are bringing to you. It will go through investment, it will go through a lot of other things. And if we are able to do well according to what our panelist is going to tell us, or our guest is going to tell us, then we can be able to finish the year very well. So this is what W Briefs has for you. We'll take a quick turn, we'll sit down, and we'll delve deeper into the topic. Thank you so much for joining us on The State. My name is Ms. I am seated, but my guest will be joining me via Zoom, and he's in the person of Patrick 𝗧𝗵𝗲𝗦𝘁, who is a chartered banker and an investment consultant. He will be delving deeper into the topic Ghana's high cost of living, exploring coping strategies for the second half of 2024. And so how are we going to go about this concerning our salaries? You're still taking home the same salaries. It has not been increased. Both public and private institutions are facing similar problems. Others are striking, others are not, but others are still complaining and agitating about their service conditions. And so these are some of the issues we'll be probing here on The State today, Wednesday. But we'll go straight to our guest. Hello, good afternoon, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, good afternoon. How are you doing, please?
I am doing very well, and thank you so much for joining us. God bless you. But let's take a look at our cost of living in this country. From where you sit as an investor or investment consultant, what would you say about our living condition?
So as you rightly said, I think I listened to your introduction where you mentioned some of the items that have gone up in terms of inflation going up, in terms of the cedi depreciating.
Yeah.
All of these things are factors that we actually consider when we are looking at the cost of living. So the first thing you rightly said is inflation. Currently, inflation is in the region of about 20%. What it means is that month on month, if I buy something, let's say last month, and it was 100 cedis, if I go to the market to buy the same thing today, it will jump by over 20%. So I'm buying the thing around 120 cedis and above. So that's the first indicator of cost of living. And we say once that goes up, it brings a bit of pressure on people living in the country. The second thing has to do with issues relating to the cedi depreciation. From the beginning of the year to now, the cedi has depreciated over 50%. What it means is that what one cedi was able to convert into a dollar is not able to do same. Now you need more cedis to get just $1. And the impact of that is found especially when it comes to the things that we buy. And that's also a leading factor to inflation, because most of the things that we use in this country are imported goods, especially the things that we need to live day-to-day expenses. And when these things are affected by prices because we are importing them and dollar is also appreciating against the cedi, that also adds up to the high cost of living in the country. The third thing that we also look at when you are looking at cost of living has to do with issues relating to interest rates. Now, currently, we have interest rates for loans around the region of 38 to 40%. So it means that if I go for a loan from the beginning of the year, and the loan is just for 1 year, and the rate is 40%, it means that by the end of the year, I should get enough profit to pay a loan rate of about 40,000 on the 100,000 if I go for 100,000. Meanwhile, these companies are also competing with international firms, Chinese firms, Japanese firms, who in their home country, they have inflation in the region of 3%, 4%.
Okay.
And they are paying interest around 5%. So these are companies that you are going to compete with, and they bring their goods here, and you are not able to compete. And because you are not able to compete, you also compound to the high cost of living because the goods are now very expensive for the ordinary Ghanaian. So these are the indicators that we consider when we are looking at issues relating to cost of living. When these factors are going up, then it means that the economy is not performing well and things are becoming very expensive. And it's expensive because you and I, as employees or people that we depend on revenues from our businesses to survive, we cannot able to generate enough because our salaries remain the same, they are not increased. But the things that you and I would need to survive, the prices of these things are going up, including even rent. If you are paying rent, you see that rent, when they are due, they go up sometimes by even 50%, 25%. So
I'll come to that. Mr. Patrick, I'll come to that. I'll come to the breakdown of how we need to, strategize when it comes to our salaries and then our daily income. But what is fueling our cost of our rising cost of living? Is it that we are too exorbitant when it comes to what we eat or what we want to have? What is actually fueling that drive?
So it's in two parts. We have to look at it, one from the individual's own decision, and also then the economy as a whole. So I tackle what I said earlier on was more of the economy. So you have inflation going up, prices of goods and services going up, and all of that. That you and I will have limited control over, because if these things are going up, the best we can do is to complain and expect that things will get better. So I'm not going to talk much about that because you and I, we don't have control over that. The second part is where you and I have control, and that's what we call our lifestyle. Our lifestyle has an impact on high cost of living. This is the sense that if I buy, let's say, water today at, let's say, 9 cedis, and I'm buying, let's say, 10 bags of water. Now, I go back to the same place to buy the water next month, and the price have gone to 20 cedis. If I decide to buy the same 10 bags of water, it means that my income is going to be affected in terms of what I could have used the extra money to do, I'm not able to do now. So that's also something that leads us to now stress our income to the point that we're not able to do a number of things because we want to live the same lifestyle. Meanwhile, the things that we need for our lifestyle have gone up in terms of the prices.
Okay.
So if you don't adjust your lifestyle to suit the rising cost of living, and you want to do the same thing that you are doing, that also becomes the second part of what leads to stress on you and I in terms of our finances and in terms of how we want to live our lives. So there are two parts.
All right. Now, what's the formula for defining or determining high cost of living?
So high cost of living, if you look at it in the general sense, we look at it more from the economy as a whole. The economy as a whole here means that people's disposable income. So let's say if you are paid 10,000.
Yeah.
And out of the pay of 10,000, maybe 8,000 comes to you. The 8,000 becomes what we call the disposable income. And that means what you can actually use to buy and I mean, for your living. Now, when that disposable income is not able to do the same thing that last year it was doing, then we say high cost of living has set in. So it's just a matter of looking at my disposable income of, let's say, 1,000 cedis. Is it able to buy the same thing that last year I bought? If it's not able to buy, then we say there's high cost of living.
How long has this been in existence? How long have we gotten to this point where the cost of living has risen up to the sky?
It actually started from beginning of last year. That's January 2023.
Okay.
We know we ended 2022 with inflation of around, I think, 13%, 15% in 2022 December. But last year, 2023, we had inflation rising from the 15% all the way to about 55% within the year. And that has transmitted into this year, even though it has dropped drastically from the 55 column. We are still in the region of about 23, 24%, which is also quite high and higher than what we experienced in 2022. So between the period, we'll say that the cost of living has risen and gone above the normal standard that we are used to as a country. So that's the starting point and where we are now as a country in terms of high cost of living.
What are some of the causative factors when it comes to these issues we are discussing today?
So the first one has to do with our management of our local city.
Okay.
How are we managing our local city? If the city is weakening, it's depreciating, that is a major factor to high cost of living in this country. And
how can we curb it? I want you to give us one point after the other, and then how we can curb those situations or those problems.
So until we get to the point where we consume a lot of things in this country, i.e. the things that we need for our daily living as a country.
So you are giving us the first point. You have given us the first point. Okay. All right. So
so we get to the point where we have enough things generated here so that we don't need to import so much.
Okay.
Our city will keep on depreciating. That's the first thing. The second thing on the same city is that if we continue to borrow money from foreign companies, we go for loans which are in foreign currency. And don't forget, if you go for a loan in foreign currency, you need to pay the loan back in foreign currency together with the interest. And the more you are not able to pay these loans and they are compounding, it will keep on reducing and depreciating your currency because eventually you need to pay for these loans. And at the time you need to pay for the loans, you need foreign currency to be able to pay for the loans. And that means that at the time you have your CD, which is a lot, chasing for the fewer dollars or euros in the system, and that will lead to your CD depreciating. So these are the things that we need to manage if we want to indeed tackle the issue of our CD depreciating.
All right, now let's come back to us as individuals. Our salaries have still not increased. We are still taking home the same salaries we've been taking home in a very long time. Probably let's take it back to a year around the same time. So let's come back to us. How do we adjust ourselves? how do we go about our living situation so that we won't find ourselves in this situation? Can you break it down for us? Example, I am taking home about 3,000 Ghana cedis. How do I break it down?
So the first thing you need to control and be able to do if you want to tackle the issue of high cost of living on your pocket, the first thing you need to do is that as an individual, you need to do what we call personal budgeting. You need to be able to map up a budget for your income on a monthly basis. What do I mean by this? You need to have a percentage of your income that you are willing and ready and afford into your daily expenses. Here, daily expenses, we are talking about, let's say, food, we are talking about fuel or TNT, we are talking about your utilities, we are talking about your rent, we are talking about family support, we are talking about tithe and a number of things. You need to clearly set out how much do I need to take out of this 3,000 into all of these components.
Do you factor in your lifestyle?
Sorry, please.
Do you factor in your lifestyle? You're talking about the foods that we eat, the entertainment purposes and all that. Do you factor in all these things?
The first thing is to have the budget written. And now when the budget is well done, your lifestyle will now fit into the budget.
Tell us the budget. Give us a pictorial view of how a budget should look like.
So a budget is basically, let's say I have a paper with me today, right now.
So I have a paper. I want to write it down. Okay.
So let's make it practical. So let's divide the paper into two.
All right.
Let's say you draw a line to divide the paper into two.
Okay. All right. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
On one side of the paper, let's say from where I sit, that will be your left.
Yeah.
Right on top, income.
Income. Okay.
Now, ask yourself, what are the means of your income? Do you have only one source of income or multiple streams of income? So let's say you have just one source of income. Okay. So right there, salary.
So salary. Okay.
Then you put the amount that you want to. You are getting as your salary there.
So we are using about 3,000 Ghana cedis.
Yes.
Okay.
So you put your 3,000 there.
Yes.
So if you don't have any additional income, that becomes your total income for the month.
Sure.
Then you go to the other side, you give a heading of expenses.
Expenses. All right.
Okay. So the expenses, let's start off. You're a Christian, you're a believer, you believe in tithe.
Yes.
So let's put there tithe.
Yeah.
So tithe is what? 10%.
10%.
Depending on your belief. So let's say 10%.
Yeah.
Let's put 10% over there. And 10% of 3,000 will give you, I think, 300 Ghana cedis. Right?
Okay. Yes, that's 300. Yeah.
Okay. Then let's list out the other expenses. So let's say rent. So let's write rent there.
Okay.
Then the next expense, let's say you have fuel or TNT, transportation.
Okay.
The next one, let's write there food.
Food. Okay.
The next one, let's write there maybe entertainment.
Okay.
Then the next one maybe, let's say utilities.
Utilities. Okay.
Let's say the next one will be child care.
Child care.
Yes. Then
in all of this, you didn't mention yourself, because you should also take care of yourself. Like the child care. You're also talking about yourself. You need to go to the hospital once in a while and all that.
Exactly.
Okay. All right.
Exactly. Then the next one will be maybe saving stroke insurance.
Okay.
Then it's always good to put what we call miscellaneous in your expenses or the budget. So just put the miscellaneous or other expenses.
Yeah, sure.
So now you have the pointers nicely written.
So we have tithes, we have rent, we have fuel or TNT, we have food, we have entertainment, we have utilities, childcare, or your own, taking care of your own self, savings / insurance, and then we have others. That is the miscellaneous.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Then now
currently we have about 2,700.
Yes, you have about 2,700 left. Yeah. So now you break the 2,700 among the expenses over there, depending on what will fit into your lifestyle.
Are we going to use economics here, the scale of preference? Are we going to use it here?
Yeah. Yes. So And that's where I started off, that it has to align with your goals.
Okay.
What are you trying to seek to achieve as a person? And that's the scale of preference we mentioned.
Yeah.
So you can start off with the most important ones, like rent.
Okay.
You can start off again with fuel, because if you are working, you need to take a cab to the place. If you are also someone who has a target ahead of you, you want to save or invest towards a target, you have to keep something in your savings. So you
I didn't hear you mention food and water, because you need to have all the strength you need to be able to do all these things.
No, I thought I mentioned that as the third one or fourth one.
Yes, but
Maybe
I mean, when you were mentioning your priorities, that's the scale of preference. You didn't mention food.
Oh, no. I'm just I was just mentioning a number of them.
Okay.
So
all right.
Someone's priority may not be food.
Sure.
Yeah. So you need to list out these things as you have done. Then now you break the expenses, which in this case will be 2,700 among them.
Okay.
The key thing is that make sure your expense is equal to your income, and that's what you call budgeting. There shouldn't be an overflow.
Okay.
When there's an overflow, then it means that you need to now go and look for extra income to balance off the overflow. Okay. And that's why I always advise that when there's high cost of living, as we are experiencing today, you need to get something to do in addition to your main job. Whatever you can sell, whatever means that you can do to get extra income. Just as Ghanaians who travel outside the country, they do multiple jobs because they want to survive. Yeah. In the same way, ask yourself, what are your skills? What are your talents? What is your time? What can you sell? Anything that you can do to support your income, you do that, support that as you draw your budget. Because sometimes, truth be told, as you have done this thing, your expense will be way above your income. And most often than not, I have been doing this for a number of years now. When I meet clients, by the time we are done drawing this thing, you see a deficit of about 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 between the expenses and the income. And that's the reality. So when you have that deficit, you have two things to do. One is what I've mentioned. What are the avenues for me to earn extra income? Okay. What support can I get to get extra income? Yeah. If you cannot get that support, then the other option is that you need to now go and look at your expenses that you have done. Which ones can I reduce? Which ones should I suspend? Okay. Which ones are not important now? And that's the scale of preference that you rightly mentioned when I gave the expenses. So that's for me the approach to tackle some of these issues.
All right, but I'll come back to you, and then we'll break it down one after the other. We'll go from budgeting. We've talked about budgeting. We'll talk about cutting costs, increase income, savings, and then what's not. But we've been speaking on the topic Ghana's high cost of living, exploring coping strategies for the second half of the year, that is 2024. And we've been speaking with Patrick Ba-Abankwah, who is a chartered banker and an investment consultant. This program is proudly brought to you by Christian Service University, located in Kumasi. If you're looking forward to getting some knowledge in nursing, midwifery, education, communication, human relations or human resources, etc., you can get it, or you can get to go to school at the CSU. Admissions for the 2024-2025 year is still ongoing. Pick up your form. If you qualify, you'll be admitted into the school. But let's come back to you, sir. We've been talking about budgeting. How do we cut down cost?
Yeah, so the cost that you want to cut down, you may want to look at each of the components of your expenses. Okay. Then you look at how you can manage the cost. So let's take, for example, you are a single man or a single lady, and you are in Accra. Okay. And expenses are going up. You are not able to cope. At the moment, you are in, let's say, a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom apartment. Okay. Clearly, at the moment, you are struggling to get any source of additional income. One of the ways you can cut down on, for example, rent, is if you can, get a smaller place that you can manage for, let's say, a year or two, which comes at a lower cost. That is the first option. So let's say you may not be in the same 2-bedroom house. You may decide to go to a chamber and hall for a period of time whilst you try to put yourself together. Because if you don't do that, you at some point in time struggle to pay your rent. and that becomes an additional burden. So that's how you can manage something like rent. When you talk about food, I have given a number of tips in the past about how people can manage food. So one of the ways is that if you are working at a place that, for example, lunch is quite expensive, then we want to consider within the week, Monday to Friday, which of the days can you bring food from the house? Even if you are bringing food from the house and a food per afternoon in your area is going for 50 cedis. If you're able to bring your food from the house for 2 days, you are saving how much? 100 Ghana cedis. If you do that for 1 month, you are saving 400 Ghana cedis. You have been able to take some cost from your budget. It may not be 50 cedis, it may be something lower. But as you're able to bring some food from the house to reduce the weekly expenses that you incur on food, that is going to help you to reduce food. Now, issues relating to, for example, utilities or data, that's light bill, water bill. How are you managing some of these things at home? When you are not at home, who is managing light at home? Do you leave the bulbs on even when there's nobody in the room? Do you have the fans running even when there's nobody there? Do you have the ACs on even when you are not in the room? These are things that you can do to reduce the cost that you are incurring on light bill. Another thing that we usually waste is issues relating to data and calls. Calls that are not very critical, we spend so much time on them, we waste credit on them, we buy, we refill, we buy. Whilst you have a data, and I always advise that if the call is a friendly call, like a friend that you are just chatting, you'll be checking up, you can do same with your WhatsApp call, which is less expensive than you using your own phone credit card to do that. So all of these things, you have to look at the expense line one by one and ask yourself, is that the maximum and the best that I can do? What other thing can I do to reduce the cost that I am incurring that particular expense? And for me, as you manually look at these expenses, then you'll be able to reduce the cost on each of them. For example, if it's about education, things are tough. Your child's school fees has been increased. You can't afford it. Is that the only school available that you can afford that are good? You can change your child's school to a place that you can afford for a term, a year, and take the child back to a good place when you are very okay. So, I mean, when it comes to these things, they are manually managed. Look at them one after the other, pick them one by one, and ask yourself, what can I do to improve the situation on each of them?
Income. These days, what are the best things we can sell? Something to bring us extra income, something that may move at a faster rate to bring us a lot of income, or a little bit more than we are earning at the end of the month.
So the best way to look at this particular question is to ask yourself, what are the things that people use on a daily basis? That's the starting point. What are the things that you and I, whether we have money or not, will use? So issues like toiletries.
Yeah.
These are things that whether we have money,
sanitary tissues and all that.
Things like, when I say toiletries, I mean like toilet roll, soap.
Sanitary
these are things
tissues
that we
and
use
all that.
on a daily basis. Cream. These are things that we use on a daily basis. So you will want to start off with them, that these are the things that everybody uses every day. So let me sell them. And those are things that when people see and they need it, they'll buy. They don't need to think too deep. And they don't need to also take a cab from one place to another to buy it if they see you selling it. The next thing is also issues relating to ladies' dresses and dresses for kids. These are things that research shows that they move very fast. So you can also consider selling them. These days, you don't even need to have the item with you before you sell them. There's something we call drop shipping. Drop shipping basically means that you advertise that you have a product, and when the product is being contacted, people need the product, you quickly pick the product from those who are selling it, and you give it to one who is buying it. So you don't need to be having a stock of the item at home. So you have people posting dresses, they are posting watches.
They don't even have
it. They don't have items home. Yeah. No, they don't. But once someone says, I want to buy it, they know where to get it. They will get it for the person, and they'll add their transportation as a margin on it. So these are basic things that you can do. For example, if you are driving your own car in these hard times and you work in, let's say, Accra, and you stay somewhere like Medina, why don't you register with an Uber company or a boat company so that when you close from work, between that 2 hours that you are getting home, instead of going to stay in traffic, why don't you just do some 1 hour, 2 hours Uber, get some little income from it, use that to buy your fuel for the next day. All of these things are basic things that you can do to be able to get some income beyond selling something.
All right, Patrick, thank you so much. But we'll take a quick turn. We are going to breathe a little. We'll come back. We'll delve deeper into the savings, investments, and then the lives. But please stay with us. We'll be back after this.
Praise God, praise God. Christ in T, you respond, yeah, addition. I'm excited to announce to you, friends in the Lord, are you seeking for a platform where you can pray? Open baby up a soul bomb pie. Now ninyami edi in kitahon. Bibi so. And I'm na the same kum. And you're coming home. Let's go into the prayer room on WTV every Friday 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. to meet seasoned ministers of God that God has raised to impact your life. Remember, John Wesley said, I have too much to do, therefore I spend several hours in prayer in able to do it. That is why we are calling upon you. Meet myself, Reverend Hosea Say, and the Evangelism Missionary Renewal Directorate as we lead you into the prayer room where we encounter Christ. And I believe your life will never be the same. Call your friends, your loved ones every Friday 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. where we will encounter Christ. God bless you. See you on our screens on WTV every Friday 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. God bless you.
Sorry, not sure.
Wake up to a purposeful day.
Get ready for a transformational morning experience.
Sorena Shrine is here to build our spirituality, mental and physical well-being.
Through positive, inspiring actions and stories.
We bring you exciting activities and conversations that develop us as a people and as a nation.
We take a look at the trending issues in Ghana and the rest of the world.
And we also review the impacting stories from our local newspapers.
Every morning, we bring you stories of hope, change, and renewal.
We empower you through the Word of God and provoke you to live the purposeful life destined for you.
Join us, Anita Kwaku
and the Reverend 𝗟𝗓𝗓𝗃 Monday to Friday from 5:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. as we take you on an inspiring journey, live and exclusively on WTV.
You may also join us on Facebook at WTV Ghana and on YouTube at Wesleyan TV Ghana.
Sorry, not Shrine.
Wake up to a purposeful day.
Sorena Shrine is brought to you by
Danwell Insurance, Multi-Credit Savings and Loans,
and the Methodist University Ghana.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us on the last part of the state. This is proudly brought to you by the Christian Service University located in Kumasi. We've been speaking with Patrick 𝗧𝗵𝗲𝗦𝘁, who is a chartered banker and an investment consultant, and we're speaking on the topic Ghana's high cost of living, exploring coping strategies for the second part of 2024. And we're talking about how to go about it. We've talked about budgeting, cutting costs, increasing your source of income. Now move to savings and investment. Patrick.
Yes.
Yes. So I'm asking you, before you come back and explain what the savings and then the investment is all about, you've made us draw a budget. There are a lot of things on the budget. Now I'm owing someone about 500 cedis. I get to save, so for savings and insurance, I get to put about 300 cedis there. Shouldn't I rather pay the person? And then I'll be left with about 200 cedis to pay back after paying the 300, rather than putting that money into savings when I still owe someone.
Yeah, so I think when I was talking about the budget, I mentioned something relating to miscellaneous or other expenses.
Sure.
So you may want to use the other expense or miscellaneous to cover for this cost. And if possible, and you can buy time, you can use some of the savings to defray the debt. However, what we need to understand is that this is not a debt that will be there forever, every month to pay this debt. So whilst you may exhaust your savings for this month to cover the cost, subsequent months where you don't have a debt, you have to make sure that you are using your savings for the purpose for which the savings has been created.
Okay.
So one of reduction of savings to meet something like a debt is allowed. But don't make it a point that every month there's an emergency that you are looking at, such that you are always using your savings to defray a cost. And for me, that is what I want people to understand. Because the savings you are putting together or the investment is actually for you. And it's for days like what you are mentioning, paying of debt, days like paying of school fees, days like trying to build up your own house, buy a land. That is what the savings is for. So if you create a savings or an investment plan, and you are always going in to be able to cover things that can be managed, then eventually you always be at the same state that you find yourself, and there won't be much progress from your end.
All right, thank you so much. But can we seek assistance from other persons? And who exactly can we ask for this assistance from?
I find assistance that we rely on other people as an issue, because just as you are struggling, the truth of the matter is that others are also struggling.
But it could be non-monetary when it comes to assistance. So who do we seek this assistance from? Like someone telling you who exactly to go and get some goods from to sell, to also gain some few profits here and there.
So are you in this case referring to, let's say, a counsel, someone to counsel you or give an advice on something? Is that the assistance you're referring to?
It could be any of them. It could be monetary, it could be non-monetary.
Yeah, so when it comes to non-monetary, as you rightly said, it's about getting advice from the qualified people. So it may be your church, someone who is qualified, who understands finance, who is a banker, who understands how to put some of these things in place. You can get in touch with them. Where you can also get support from your family. For example, you are building a business from the scratch, side hustle. The best people to sell the side hustle to will be people that are closer to you, because once they buy into the product, then they'll be able to help you to sell to the other people. So there's nothing wrong in getting support from people. But where it is financial, my point is that don't build your lifestyle with the mindset that you'll get support from people, because you'll be disappointed. The people are also going through the same challenges, or the economy that we find ourselves, the economy that you are struggling is the same economy that others are in it. So if you don't put your house in order, such that to be able to rely on your own self to survive and come out of the pit that you find yourself, then there will be a challenge. So getting non-monetary, for example, if you need to go to a place and you don't have money and the friend is going to the place, you can jump into their car, you can ride with them. That's a support that you can get, and it's allowed. But that should not be the focal point for you in a high cost of living society, because everybody is going through the same challenge.
Sure. Now, when it comes to financial planning, you are a consultant, and so you know how much you charge I mean, consulting for someone, or someone coming to you to consult with you and to ask you for advice here and there? You know how much it costs. And in this parts of the country where we find ourselves in today, most of us may not be able to get that sort of help from you and then be able to pay. What is the best way to go about this? How do you get the help that you need when you don't have the money to pay for it?
So there are a lot of learning materials and good books out there about financial planning. And these days where we have information out there, cheap, just Googling and typing, you can start off from that place. So for example, you can go to YouTube and type financial planning 101, or what is financial planning? How can I plan my life financially? You get more than 10,000 audios and videos on this topic. So if you don't have the means to afford a financial planner, like as a writer like myself or people out there, you can start off with something like a YouTube, watch these videos, learn, take some notes, and begin to put them into practice. That's the first point. Second point may be, as I said, you are in a church, people who are bankers who understand finance. You can just approach them, put some few questions before them, and ask them to assist you. That's also something that you can do, which may not come at a cost. However, if you are doing these things and you need people to validate for you at some point in time, there's nothing wrong in going to pay for someone to assist you. Just as today, if you and I, we are not feeling too well, we go to the hospital, we go and see the doctor, we go and consult for solutions. The same way, when it comes to your finances, you should be able to sacrifice something if indeed you think that you need the help of this person. But before that, as I said, there are learning materials online. There are videos that you can watch on how you can plan your life. And these are things that come at low cost. You start off with that, and with time you progress and scale up to meeting financial planners who will be more targeted to address the challenges that you're going through. But that should be, for me, the secondary part of it. The first part should be the learning material that you can easily find online, YouTube, TikTok, a number of places. These materials are available.
All right, thank you so much. But when it comes to support network, who should you fall on?
You should fall on, for me, the first four group that you should consider will be your family. Then you should also have a very good network of friends who align with your vision and your goals. So not friends who just come in, just have some drink ups and chat and you just go. But friends that when they meet, they discuss business. When they meet, they discuss financial support. These are the people that you can also follow. When you have a business idea that you want to scale up, then you can also look at the support from a financial institution who can be of help to give you some kind of advice and also capital to do the business that you do. For example, if you are going into agriculture, we have some banks that are earmarked towards agriculture who will be able to support you with some funds that you need to be able to do that. So the three levels: first of all, immediate family; secondly, friends that align with your goals and they have the vision that you are also considering. Then third will be the financial institution or a business partner if you want to go into business. All of these things, for me, come under the umbrella of support that you need if you want to scale up your life in a high cost of living society.
These days, we are very scared when it comes to, or most people are very skeptical when it comes to saving, because you save in one financial institution and then the next day you wake up and either the Securities and Exchange Commission has closed them down because of license or because they are not doing what is right. How do we make the best investment decisions? How do we take them?
The first thing you need to consider is that when it comes to investing your money, you are taking a risk. So we say investment is risk management. You are managing your risk. So the first risk that you are managing is that you don't want to keep the money at home for someone to attack you. So that's the first risk you are taking. If you leave the money there, risk is very high. So now you want to say, okay, if I'm not leaving my money at home, I'm taking it to a place that if something happens to them, my money is still assured. Now when it comes to that kind of system, there are very varied levels of institutions. We have, as we all know, the banks, and in the banks we have category of banks. So we have what we call the investor banks who are there. Then we have savings and loans, we have microfinance, we have microcredit, we have rural and community banks, we have susu businesses, credit unions that are all available. They all carry some level of risk. So ask yourself, which one am I willing to take the risk? Universal banks have low risks because if you keep your money with a universal bank and something happens like we saw in the closure of some banks, even if a bank is closed, you still get your money. So people had their monies locked up for some time, but all the banks pay the monies to the people because these banks are under Bank of Ghana, and Bank of Ghana is compelled by law to support these banks if something happens. So you know that if I give my money to, let's say, Bank A, Bank B, and there's a problem, eventually I'll get my money. It may delay. So that's the risk you are taking. If I give my money to a savings and loans, there's a level of risk that I need to take. So you also consider that. What we usually do not do is that when it comes to investment in these institutions, we don't take time to understand what the investments are about. Now, when it comes to investment in a bank or any of the institutions I mentioned, there are a number of investments that you can do which carry different levels of risk. So, for example, if I want to do treasury bill or fixed deposit, which belongs to government and the bank itself, the risk is very low. But because the risk is low, the interest is also very low. Because that's how financial principles work. The higher the interest, the higher the returns. The lower the interest, the lower the returns. So if you want to go for low risk investment like fixed deposit treasury bill, then be ready to also pay something that is in interest that is lower as compared to any other investment. So once you have all this at the back of your mind, then you can decide to say, I want to do treasury bill. I know people who have done only treasury bill as their investment for the 30 years that they have worked. That's the only investment that they have done, and there hasn't been any problem. Now, those who did bonds, we all know that last year there was a debt exchange program where these bonds had to be restructured. It means that if your period was for 5 years, now it's going for 10 years, 15 years, which means that for some time you may not get the returns that you are supposed to get on your investment. But eventually, when government starts paying, you begin to get your money back. As against if I decided to go and do a business or go and buy some gold somewhere that we all know in the past happened and people lost their money. All of these things are areas that if you want to do an investment, you need to get proper coaching, understanding before you do. Which institution you want to do? Is the institution license? Do they have Bank of Ghana license? Are they registered by SEC? All of these things you need to be clear in your mind because it's your money. Don't say that you didn't know. Once it's your money, you should know. And that means that you ask the right questions. You ask the people that understand it for them to guide you as to the kind of investment that you need to do.
Okay. Patrick, thank you so much. But in a few seconds, if you have any words to give to us before we wrap up.
Okay, so in my final remarks, what I would want to say is that in a time of high cost of living like we face ourselves, we all have two options to take. The first option is that we can join those who are complaining, make noise, complain, sit back and do nothing. Or we can appreciate that there's a problem and look at what we can do in our small way to survive. And what we can do in our small way to survive is what we have discussed today. Start off by budgeting, align your lifestyle to the budget, make sure you do not go beyond what you can afford. These are things that you should consider in your small way in a high cost of living society. And that's the only way you'll be able to survive. If that is not working, as I said, you add up additional income by selling something, by doing some skill work to be able to generate enough revenue to cover for your living expenses, that of your dependents, and people that you can support in your society or in the church. That would be my advice and the final words to viewers that have been with us for this one. Thank you very much.
All right, Patrick, thank you so much. God bless you. But we can choose to do what he has said, or we can choose to sit in the comfort of our homes and continue agitating and continue complaining. But yes, we can do something about the situation. People have found themselves in worse situations than we are having today, but they've been able to make a lot out of it. Thank you so much for joining us on The State. We've been talking to Patrick 𝗧𝗵𝗲𝗏, who is a chartered banker and an investment consultant. We've been discussing the Ghana's high cost of living, exploring coping solutions to the second part of the year 2024. My name is 𝗟𝗓𝗏𝗏. This program was proudly brought to you by the Christian Service University located in Kumasi. Admission for the next semester is still ongoing, and so pick up your form. If you qualify, you will be admitted into the school. Thank you so much, but we are about going. I want to say God bless you for taking time off your busy schedules and watching us. We'll come your way same time on Friday. Before then, enjoy the rest of our programs and stay safe.